Hello again, welcome back. How are you today? Thank you very much for tuning in. I am here to share with you some nuggets of wisdom in the hope that they will ease your path. My name is Rosine, and I support people on their healing journey. Today, I want to share with you a super fast way of transmuting emotional energy. And I hope you had a chance to listen to my last video on the art of being with your emotions. And if not, I'd recommend you go back and take a moment to watch that. If you had watched it, then I hope you had a chance to practice being with your emotions without any judgment. It isn't easy, and I just want to give you tons of credit for trying and for even watching videos like this, because we do live in a time, we live at, I don't even think there were very different times where people had a different relationship with emotion. It's just not a comfortable part of being human, and I don't think it has been handled very well for a really long time. And yet the quality of our lives is in direct relationship to the quality of our emotions, because our emotions do affect absolutely everything. And also, as you're probably familiar with the law of attraction, let's say, the energy that we are emitting, the vibration we are emitting, has a lot to do with what we attract into our lives. And our emotions are essential in that, like our emotions emit the essential ingredient of the vibration that then brings back to us whatever it is we're attracting. So investing time and energy into healing your emotional body will be an extremely wise investment. It will pay you back endlessly. So I want to share with you today about a method that you can use to transmute your emotions really, really fast. However, there's a paradox that I've mentioned in the last video, which is that if you approach your emotions with an agenda for them to move fast, you're hardly going to have access to them. So step number one is you need to drop your agenda of moving an emotion fast. You just need to let that go. And I know that's a total paradox, because what I'm teaching you is how you can transmute an emotion very fast. So the prerequisite for that to work is that you actually need to let go of the agenda to transmute it fast. You need to be okay with the emotion to not move fast. You need to be okay with it taking time, however much time it takes. The emotions, they need space. They have their very own movement. They have their own natural rhythm, and they know what you're up to. So if you give them space to be who they are, to behave however they want to behave, they are going to be way more cooperative with you than if you want to boss them around, basically. If you want to push them around, if you want to speed up the process, they will push back. So allow yourself to lay back, take off the pressure, and just become curious. Curious as to, I wonder, what is it with this emotion? I wonder what is the gift this emotion has for me. I wonder how it may want to move through me. I wonder how this emotion is going to change me. So that curiosity will take off the pressure, and it will open up the space for the emotion to kind of relax, come to the surface, and show up for you. Then the next step is to become aware of the emotion as an energy that has its very own life, right? Your emotions almost, we often are not very happy about the fact that our emotions have a life of their own, and they show up in the most inconvenient moments. But here in this context, you actually really want to respect that they do have a life of their own. And you want to just zoom in on that phenomenon. There's an emotion in your body. It is an energy. Become curious about this energy. And what I find really helpful is to ask yourself questions. Where in my body do I feel this energy of, let's say, anger or sadness or happiness? Where in my body is this emotion? If it had a color, what color would it have? And by the way, this is a really helpful way of asking. If it had a color, what color would it have? Your mind is much more readily agreeable to assign a color if you just say, if it had a color. Whereas if you say, what color does it have? Your mind is gonna maybe go like, what do you mean? It's an emotion, it's an energy, it doesn't have a color. So say, if it had a color, I'm curious, what color would it be? Or if it had a size, what size would it be? Or if it had a texture, what texture would it be? So that's a really easy way for you to zoom in on the emotion as an energy. You may end up with, it's blue, it's about the size of a basketball, and it is in my pelvis, for example. Or it could be black, and it's sitting right here on my chest, and it's really heavy. Like, that really helps your mind to start relating to the emotion as an energy. Because what we now need to do as the next step is to separate the energy of the emotion and your thoughts about the emotion. So you may have, let's say there's a particular kind of pain that comes up occasionally for you. You most likely have a ready-to-go narrative that is on an automatic loop in your mind. Like, you know exactly how long this has been going on. You may have thoughts like, this is never going to go away. This is there because my father didn't do this, or my mother did do that, or I've lived with this my whole life. I'm probably going to have to, live the rest of my life with this. Like, your mind has an entire narrative for every emotion that you have stored in your body, like the familiar emotions that keep kind of running their course. They have a narrative, and your mind is the one who created the narrative, and it's natural that your mind would have a narrative. Our mind is always trying to create relief. Our mind is trying to make ourselves feel better. The only thing is that the mind doesn't know how to make your emotions better. The mind doesn't know how to do that. It tries, but it doesn't have what it takes to transmute your emotion. So your mind has been desperately trying to help you all these years by analyzing, commenting, labeling, compartmentalizing, putting it on a timeline. Your mind has tried everything in its might to help you get rid of this emotion. And it hasn't worked. Otherwise, it wouldn't still be there. So what we need to do now is become aware of the narrative. The narrative, you can also call it a story, commentary. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you become aware that there's an energy of your emotion, and there is a separate phenomenon called your mental narrative about it. And what happens in life is that we have those two interlocked, and we don't know that we have them interlocked. We don't even know they're two different things. And as long as they are interlocked, bad news for you, they will go on forever. As long as this emotion, let's say it's an old anger, and there's your narrative of why there's that anger and whom you were angry at and what needs to happen for the anger to go away. If that narrative always is going hand in hand with your anger, your emotion of the anger cannot evaporate. So you literally have to release, you have to separate these two phenomenons in order for the emotional energy to move back into an energy that moves and in an energy that can eventually evaporate like emotions do. That's what they naturally do. And it would have done that a long time ago if it was not locked in with a narrative. So this is the hard part, I would say. You need to become aware of how your mind is kicking in and saying, this is why, this is where, this is how long it's been going on. And then you want to gently invite these thoughts to take a break, just 5 minutes. Tell them, I just need 5 minutes. And literally, that's all you need, right? You can say you can come back in 5 minutes, but right now, I just need a moment to myself and my emotion. And all this wonderful analytical data that you have for me It's very important. You did a great job compiling it all. And for these next 5-10 minutes, why don't you wait over here, and I'll have my rendezvous with my emotion, and I come back and get you. So you literally want to have this type of conversation where you separate out these different phenomenons. And now you can turn your attention to the energy of the emotion. And that's where you now want to feel the emotion. And that can feel a little scary if it's like a big pain or a big anger or a big grief or a big fear. It's actually scary to really feel your fear. And so you need to muster all the courage you can. And take my word for it, it's not going to go very long. It's not going to take long. You need courage for just a few minutes. So, needless to say, you want to be in a space where you are either with a trusted friend who knows how to be present with you, who's not going to fix you, who's not going to rush you, who's not going to analyze you. The friend is only allowed to be there if they really know what I'm talking about in this video. If they don't, honestly, you're better off alone. So let's say you're alone in your room on your bed, and you're now feeling into this blue basketball-sized thing in your pelvis, and it feels like grief. You want to direct your awareness, your presence, your whole focus into that emotion and really, really, really feel it. And actually, you might want to verbalize to that emotion. You can say, I want you. You can do with me whatever you want. You invite the emotion to really take over. And that takes tremendous courage, really does. And I mean, myself, I can skirt around that for a really long time, even though I might feel miserable. I may avoid going right into that bullseye of that emotional energy for a really long time because I just don't want to. And that's why I find it very helpful to support clients to do it. Like I do it with them. I hold the space for them to do it. And it just makes it so much easier. Or if you have a friend who can do that with you, that's even better. So what you then want to do, as I already said, is you literally move yourself into the bull's eye of the emotion and you just feel. No commentary, no explanation, no nothing. You only feel that particular emotion. Now, that's where and when the miracle is going to happen. If you have the courage to just be with your emotion for a few moments, the energy will transmute. It may get stronger for a few moments. It might become more pronounced. And like if you're angry, you might get even more angry. And your job is not act on it, but feel it. And if you're sad and you're just crying your eyes out, let yourself cry your eyes out, as long as you don't go back into, oh my God, and this happened last year. This is going to happen for the rest of my life. You need to stay away from the commentary. And when you are in that bull's eye, literally what's happening is the energy that was frozen or stuck is now going to change. It's liquefying. And if you stay there long enough, it will evaporate. And I want to tell you a very cool story where a friend of mine was incredibly angry at someone else, and the circumstances and the person were, genuinely, truly, justifyingly angry making. Like, in other words, my friend had every reason to be angry. And before my very eyes, I didn't help him. He did it on his own. He went into the bull's eye of that anger. And I could see the anger like moving through his body, kind of like lightning. It was intense, but for like 30 seconds. And after these 30 seconds were over, he was like, wow, it was just gone. The anger was gone. And he could then deal with the situation in a very, level-headed way. So this whole approach may take a little while to get used to. You may approach that bull's eye a few times and shy away from it until you really go into it. That's totally fine. You're learning a new skill. You want to be patient with yourself and just keep practicing. Keep bringing your patience and your focus to your emotional energy over and over again, and kind of pierce it until it evaporates. Thank you again very, very much for connecting and listening in. I really appreciate you taking your time and learning something new so you can rise above. Much love to you always.